Welcome to Astoria Film Festival's virtual step and repeat interviews. Today we're speaking with Ashley Gerst, whose animated film, The Spirit Scene, will be featured in our 2020 film festival. So do you want to first start off with a little bit of background about The Spirit Scene and how you came to make it?
Really, the story idea came from my relationship with my grandfather. I grew up living with my grandparents and my mom. And so my grandfather was like a second dad, and, I helped raise me as well. And he passed away in 2013 of lung cancer. And so I wanted to do a film that was about, kind of adjacently about him. I really wanted it to be a film that anybody could enjoy, not something that's like a memoir or anything like that, but to also have a story where, our relationship was kind of a focus. And I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, but he was from a small coal mining town in Pennsylvania. And after he had my mom, they moved to Cleveland. So he worked at a bread factory, and then he was a truck driver. It's clear he was just so nostalgic and never really particularly took to Cleveland. He preferred his small town. So I wanted it to take place and be kind of nostalgic to his memories of growing up there too.
You're a professor of animation at SVA, right? And also
I'm full-time William Patterson in New Jersey, and then I'm also an adjunct at SVA of 3D animation.
And how did you get into 3D animation?
I went to undergraduate in Cleveland and I studied animation in general, and at the time there really wasn't a very strong 3D focus, so I focused on 2D animation and stop motion. And then after I graduated, I wasn't quite sure what to do next, and then I decided to go to grad school at SVA, and then that's where I focused on 3D. So while I do like 3D animation, it's really not my favorite form of animation. 2D and stop motion can lend themselves to like just a different quality. And I think the initial, I guess, reasoning for that is, 3D is always very clean and sleek and very specific. And sometimes there's a lot of like physical limitations that you have to, learn a lot of you have to have a significant technical proficiency to break beyond those physical limitations, where with 2D and stop motion, it's not the same. You could just take some clay and make it do whatever you want, and the same with the drawing. But I think now 3D has really started to lend itself to some really cool, unique approaches. And so I'm really glad, at first I learned it because I knew I should, and then now I'm really glad that I know it because there's films like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and things like that, and Paperman actually is another really good example, the Disney short.
Yes, we're huge. My son's a big fan of Spider-Verse, and we watched that the shorts thing on Netflix, which has Paperman in it.
Yeah,
quite often.
And those are just such great examples of like ways to push 3D into just like other boundaries beyond just realism, and So I think I've been trying to do like my version of that too.
Are you working on any projects now? I think you are uniquely in a position to be able to do that versus a lot of the filmmakers who are kind of waiting to film.
Oh, most definitely. And so I have been working on something else. It's in the early stages. I've written the scripts and I'm starting the storyboarding process. It's called Being Pushed Down by Shadow, and it's going to focus on like an older teenage daughter who's early college age that would still be living at home. Hopefully I can get started animating by probably December, I think, is my goal.
And how long then does it take usually?
It took about a year to do the full production of like building things, finishing up the characters, because some of them were like partially made here and there. I was working on it, just like an hour here, an hour there. It wasn't like my full day or anything like that. And so I started prioritizing it, and I probably did the majority of the sets and everything like that within 1 year, and all the characters, and it took me about 4 months to animate, and then after that was all just post. Rendering the film took forever. I sat and figured out, I fortunately was able to use a lot of machines at the schools I teach at, but I figured out that it took 144 days.
Wow.
24-hour rendering And that would be like, I have a computer here. I have one over behind this too. Both of those going, I would like set up, I had a very crappy version of a render farm going as well. And then I also had, it was like so damn slow. It was not even useful,
rendering is
brutal. It was awful. And then, a lot of the times that's 144 days is without mistakes. There were lots of mistakes. So that was very rough. I'm also in the process of figuring out, I might do this animation entirely 2D, this next animation,
wow,
as opposed to 3D at all.
Yep.
Rendering just takes so long. And 2D animation and 3D animation both have their pros and cons. But I might be able to make this animation just a bit faster. There's over 20 characters in this one. There's a lot more people. There's a lot more friends and people that you need to see like throughout the film. You can't have like a teenage girl without her having like 5 or 6 friends that show up at some point. Yeah, so, she needs to have all these. The mom is a dancer, so you go to a concert at one point. That's a lot of people. There's one point where they go to a department store, and that's again just lots of people. So
I have to ask, was your mother a dancer?
Yep.
Okay.
She didn't pursue it and that's like, I don't know if it's still a regret, but it was at one time a regret that she didn't continue pursuing that, but she was. And then she put me through dance for like forever. It's like 7 years. And eventually I just like sat down on the ground. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I refuse to dance anymore. And that was like the end of my lessons. So I was just like, I refuse to do this. But to her defense, she was like, I can tell my daughter is creative. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm the only artist in my family. So I think that she was just kind of like, I can understand that she's very creative in something, but I don't know what to do with it. So I'll put her through the same type of creativity I like, and we'll take it from there. And that just wasn't working for me. I am not a dancer.
Where can people find you?
Oh, yeah. Can be found, my website, it's currently in progress, but hopefully will be done soon, is ashleygerst.com. You can find out more about my film at thespiritseam.com or facebook.com/thespiritseam. And then my Instagram account is Gerst, the GERSTBURST.
Awesome. I will check it out.
Great, thank you.
Was there anything else you wanted to say that I could add in that I didn't get to?
No, I think